AI is transforming customer service. It's real and it works. And with Finn, we've built the #1 AI agent for customer service. We're seeing lots of cases where it's solving up to 90% of real queries for real businesses. This includes the real-world complex stuff like issuing a refund or cancelling an order. And we also see it when Finn goes up against competitors. It's top of all the performance benchmarks, top of the G2 leaderboard, and if you're not happy, we'll refund you up to $1 million, which I think says it all. Check it out for yourself at fin.ai.
The data your financial firm protects could be vulnerable to tomorrow's quantum attacks. Some attackers are already stealing encrypted data, waiting until quantum computers can break it. Security agencies are advising the financial sector to prepare now. With security spread across many platforms and legacy systems, Arkit helps financial firms map hidden dependencies and prepare for a smooth migration. Search arkitgroup.com/prepare for PQC.
It's Saturday the 28th of March. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was the week that saw Trump flip-flop on Iran deadline, government move to ban crypto donations to political parties, Meta and YouTube under pressure after jury verdict, and tributes to an action star and reality TV icon.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
This week has seen no let-up in the war of words between Donald Trump and the Iranian government, as Tehran has refused to back down in the face of American and Israeli strikes. This weekend saw Iranian leadership warn that a threat from the US president to obliterate Iranian power plants would result in attacks against energy facilities and desalination plants across the Middle East, along with a complete closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was warning that there is no end in sight to the ongoing war, that Iran remains a threat, and America's allies need to commit to supporting the war effort.
President Trump's call to have the international community confront this terrorist fanatic regime, that is a call not only for the security of America, it's for the security of the entire world. And it's time for them to act.
America's European allies have been reluctant to get involved, to the frustration of President Trump. But Housing Secretary Steve Reid was staying on message on Sunday.
We are working to do whatever we can to de-escalate this situation, and we're working with our allies because the best way to keep everybody safe is to bring it to a close.
Then on Monday morning, Donald Trump backed down from his 48-hour ultimatum to Iran. Speaking in Florida before he boarded Air Force One, he announced that the US and Iran had engaged in what he called very strong talks, and as a result, the imminent threat of the US obliterating Iranian power plants was off the table.
We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Markets reacted positively to Trump's change of heart, but Tehran contradicted his claim of talks, with the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament accusing the US President of issuing false statements to calm the energy markets and that Iran would fight on. Israel too continued to strike at Iranian targets, while Trump clarified that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner were engaged in discussions with one of Iran's leaders, but he refused to say who that person is. Appearing before a Commons Committee, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who spoke to Trump on Sunday evening, said that his government were aware of the negotiations and remain keen to see the de-escalation in the Gulf.
My very strong view is we need to de-escalate and bring an end to this conflict as swiftly as possible. I welcome the talks reported between the US and Iran, and to be clear with the committee, we, the UK, were aware that was happening.
There were more mixed messages from Donald Trump on Tuesday as America and Israel continued to trade airstrikes with Iran. The US president said that Iran had agreed to never have a nuclear weapon, but it also is still considering American boots on the ground, as he deployed at least another 1,000 troops from the 82nd Airborne Division in the Middle East. Iran appeared to be letting some ships through the Strait of Hormuz on Tuesday when a new $2 million toll scheme floated. In Europe, both the Irish and Spanish governments have announced packages aimed at reducing fuel costs and protecting consumers from spikes in energy prices. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says the government is still working on the details of a plan for the UK.
Contingency planning is taking place for every eventuality so that we can keep costs down for everyone and provide support for those who need it most.
Tory Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride was unimpressed.
On energy, on the cost of living,
on jobs, on growth, on public finances, on every measure that matters, this Chancellor has left us weak.
Iran pushed back strongly on Wednesday, contradicting the American narrative about peace talks and rejecting a possible ceasefire deal proposed by Pakistan. They proposed a 5-point peace plan which would include an end to fighting and assassinations of its officials, guarantees that there will be no further war, reparations for the damage done during the current conflict, and acceptance of Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian ambassador to the UN, Amir Saeed Irvani, was scathing in his assessment of the US process so far.
The one claiming to be a global superpower would have already gotten out of this mess, if it could. Don't dress up your defeat as an agreement. Your era of promises has come to an end.
The White House has insisted that discussions were continuing, describing a resounding victory so far. But former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton says the whole thing is headed for disaster.
I think the correct objective is to overthrow the regime. I don't think it's going to negotiate. If we weren't prepared to stick this out, then I don't think the president ever should have started it.
Donald Trump once again extended his deadline for Iran on Thursday as the 5-day timeline was due to run out. The US president had threatened to obliterate Iranian energy plants last weekend and then changed his mind to give a 5-day window, and that has now been extended for another 10 days until Monday the 6th of April. Trump says it's at the request of Iran and because peace talks are continuing, but markets have been falling and oil prices were rising as the deadline approached. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte was once again backing the US president on Thursday as he attempts to keep the alliance aligned, even as European members shy away from Trump's war in the Middle East.
If Iran would have the nuclear capability, it would be a direct threat, an existential threat to Israel, to the region, to Europe, to the stability in the world. So the president doing this is crucial.
UK Defence Secretary John Healey wasn't prepared to criticise the US as the pressure on oil prices has seen America lift sanctions on Russia and Iranian oil.
The US will account for its own actions. The best thing that would bring back stability, bring down the oil price, would be a de-escalation of the conflict in the Middle East.
This week saw counter-terrorism police open an investigation into an arson attack on 4 charity-owned ambulances early on Monday morning. The ambulances, which were parked in Golders Green, belong to Jewish charity Hatzolah, and police are treating the incident as an anti-Semitic hate crime. The attack has not been declared a terrorist incident at this stage, according to Detective Chief Superintendent Luke Williams, but an Iran-aligned group has made a claim of responsibility on its Telegram channel, as Secretary Wes Streeting condemned the attack on Monday.
This is a shocking, cowardly and despicable act of evil. An attack on an ambulance service whose sole reason for being is to provide health and care and emergency response to the local community.
The Met Police have arrested 2 men and investigations are continuing. London Mayor Sadiq Khan says there's no tolerance for anti-Semitism in London at a time of global chaos.
The idea that somebody would attack somebody because they're Jewish or they'd attack Hatzolah is perverse, and that's why all of us need to be aware of how scared Jewish people are.
The new Sentencing Act came into effect on Monday, which means that offenders who would have faced up to a year in jail are now likely to receive a suspended sentence instead. The Act was passed in January and it will only affect those convicted from Monday onwards as part of the government's justice reform strategy aimed at relieving the pressure on His Majesty's prison service. Rehabilitation experts say there is no evidence short jail sentences are particularly effective. There can be up to 6,000 prisoners serving 1-year sentences in jail at any one time. David Lord of the Magistrates Association was concerned that the sudden influx of suspended sentences could overstress the probation service.
If we're not going to be sending somebody to custody, we need a meaningful alternative, which is normally a community order. But is there enough probation officers? Are they there? Are they able to do the reports quickly enough?
You've just over a month to register to vote in the local elections, which are due to take place on Thursday the 7th of May. It's a tough election to predict as Reform have shown consistent growth in the polls but lost out in the Green Party in the Gorton and Dent by-election. With the Greens on the rise and with Labour and the Tories struggling, Tuesday saw the Lib Dems introduce their pitch for their local elections with a bake-off style launch event. Leader Sir Ed Davey says he's not concerned about a threat from the Green Party, and the party's Lisa Smart says they are more focused on stopping reform.
We need to stop reform bringing in Trump-style politics. We stand up for decency and tolerance and the rule of law, whereas reform seems to be wanting to import what Donald Trump's doing to America with just chaos and division.
The government has moved to ban donations to political parties in cryptocurrencies following an inquiry into the risks of foreign interference in UK elections. The Rycroft Review has made 17 recommendations to ensure the integrity of the UK's elections and protect from outside influence, which will include the crypto ban and a cap of £100,000 annually on donations from expats. The government is still considering further changes, but with local elections looming, took action on Wednesday. The ban is most likely to affect Reform, who have previously boasted about accepting donations in cryptocurrencies. Secretary for Local Government Steve Reid addressed Parliament.
In light of the gravity of the issues raised in the report, I am not prepared to allow any window of opportunity in which malign actors based overseas can funnel dark money into our politics.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer found himself back in the spotlight again this week over the appointment and dismissal of Lord Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the US. Met Police are investigating Lord Mandelson over accusations of corruption in public office, which he strenuously denies, but Downing Street had committed to releasing the briefing documents around the appointment. Now it turns out that former Chief of Staff for Starmer, Morgan McSweeney's phone was stolen and key messages between him and Mandelson may be lost. The Tories are outraged, with former Business Secretary Andrew Griffith describing it as smelly as a fish market on a summer day. But the PM says the idea that there is some conspiracy is far-fetched and that McSweeney filed a police report when the phone was taken. Former Cabinet Secretary Helen McNamara told the BBC that the theories don't make sense.
Morgan McSweeney, like many chiefs of staff in Downing Street before him, has become a sort of bogeyman, and people are imagining all sorts of amazing things that he can do. I think to imagine that he was thinking that he would pretend to have his phone stolen is a bit odd.
The war in the Middle East has seen talks on peace in Ukraine stall, with Russia attempting to leverage its support for Iran to stop America's aid to Ukraine. US and Ukrainian negotiators did meet in Florida last Sunday, and while the White House described the meetings as constructive, it's not clear what the next step might be. President Zelensky spoke to the BBC last weekend, and he says that for Ukraine, the focus has to be on the present.
We need to gather our strength. Unity is number one. Speed is number two. Not to compete about who has made a contribution to civilization and to the development of history. Because now we have people living. All this is now.
The New York Times reported this week that the US is continuing to pressure Ukraine to hand over a significant amount of land in the Donbass as part of the deal to secure American security guarantees. It's also been reported this week that armed shipments which were due to go to Ukraine may now be diverted by the US military as the war in the Middle East continues to chew up resources. With no good news for Ukraine, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer was in Helsinki on Thursday for a meeting of the Joint Expeditionary Force. The JEF is a group of 10 Northern European countries who operate independently of NATO, and they were meeting to discuss Baltic and Arctic security in the wake of Donald Trump's Greenland drama. The intention is that the group can rapidly respond to threats, and the meeting's focus was on the Russian Shadow Fleet and the ongoing war in Ukraine. Starmer was focused on the threat posed by the Russian president.
In the face of Putin's abhorrent attacks over the winter, which have been severe, I have to say the fortitude of the Ukrainian people is extraordinary, and we must never lose sight of that, or that Putin continues to take lives of innocent citizens.
Ukrainian President Zelensky was in Saudi Arabia on Thursday to meet with the Crown Prince and discuss deploying Ukrainian drone technology to help secure the kingdom from Iranian drone attacks. He joined the Helsinki meeting by video link and called for more support from Ukraine's European allies.
In Europe, we need to build more close cooperation between Ukraine, your countries, and all European nations to ensure real protection on land, in the air, and at sea.
Wednesday saw a potentially significant decision in Los Angeles as tech giants Meta and YouTube lost a case that would have wide-reaching impact for social media users. After a 6-week trial and 9 days of jury deliberations, the court found both companies liable for deliberately designing addictive products. The case was taken by a young woman who was referred to only by the initials KMG. The jury found that the products led to her being harmed and that both companies had been negligent when it came to providing adequate warnings about the potential dangers of their products. The trial had heard from top executives including Mark Zuckerberg and whistleblowers, along with experts on social media and addiction. It's expected that the companies will appeal. We'll hear more on the implications of the case from the Smart 7's tech guru Will Guyatt on this Sunday's edition of the Sunday 7. It's not the only case either. On Tuesday, Meta lost a case in New Mexico over child safety, which saw them fined $375 million. Linda Singer was the prosecutor in that case.
The victims are children. The conduct was repeated again and again. That it was done and made with knowledge that serious harm would result, and it did.
So to come the Standout 7 in association with Metro. Good news for pet owners and tributes to an action movie legend.
Right after this.
AI is transforming customer service. It's real and it works. And with Finn, we've built the #1 AI agent for customer service. We're seeing lots of cases where it's solving up to 90% of real queries for real businesses. This includes the real-world complex stuff like issuing a refund or cancelling an order. And we also see it when Finn goes up against competitors. It's top of all the performance benchmarks, top of the G2 leaderboard, and if you're not happy, we'll refund you up to $1 million, which I think says it all. Check it out for yourself at fin.ai.
Traffic may be locked, but savings isn't. Unlock the savings at Boost Mobile with unlimited wireless for just $25 a month. Forever. No contracts, no hikes, and you keep your phone. Unlock the savings at boostmobile.com/unlock. $25 forever requires customers to remain active on Boost Unlimited Wireless Plan. For full offer details, visit boostmobile.com.
Welcome back.
With huge pressure on fossil fuels, the government published its new guidelines for greener homes on Tuesday. The plan says that from 2028, no new homes will be on the gas network. Instead, they will have heat pumps or solar panels on their roofs. The solar panels must cover a minimum of 40% of the ground floor space. And Energy Secretary Ed Miliband says that the war in Iran has demonstrated the urgency of what he called escaping the grip of fossil fuel markets we don't control. There's also an intriguing new idea: small, portable solar panels that you'll be able to buy in Lidl and plug in on your balcony, as Energy Minister Michael Shanks explained to Sky News.
The idea here is that there's an offer for everybody. Solar should be a normal part of new homes that are built, but for households now, you can go into a shop in a few months' time, buy a solar panel, plug it in.
The Tories and Reform have been calling for an end to green policies in the aim of reaching net zero, and they'd rather see the government open up the North Sea for more aggressive drilling for oil and gas. But Business Secretary Peter Kyle said there are plenty of more modern and efficient alternatives.
We have enormous amounts of resource when it comes to renewables, but also the potential for nuclear. We are investing in nuclear, both large-scale production, but also small modular reactors.
The aim to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, which is at a time of crisis in the Middle East, makes good sense, but not according to the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch. The Tories and Reform both want to see green targets dropped and more drilling in the North Sea, and she was outraged as the new proposal to offer energy bill support for those struggling with costs in the crisis.
Yet again, he's taking money from those who do work to give to those who don't. First, we had the budget for Benefit Street. Now it's the bailouts for Benefit Street.
The PM said targeted support for those who need it most makes sense, and when it comes to new licensing for drilling in the North Sea, that is up to the Energy Secretary.
She's attacking me without having read the legislation. It has to be the Secretary of State, and it's a quasi-judicial process, exactly the process that they ran for many years. And Mr. Speaker, oil and gas is part of the mix for many years to come.
The Competition and Markets Authority had good news for pet owners on Tuesday. They're introducing new controls for medication for pets to cap prices and stop dramatic inflation. A long-running investigation found that increases in the price of medicine for your furry pal has been running at twice the rate of inflation. Over 60% of UK households own a pet, and we spend almost £7 billion a year on vets and medicine for them. The British Veterinary Association welcomed the new measures, saying the measures will help pet owners make more informed choices. cases. Martin Coleman, chair of the Independent Inquiry Group at the CMA, said regulation is overdue.
What we're going to require by law is that vets put prices of basic services on a website, that there is a price comparison service, and that vets will have to tell pet owners that they may be able to get their medicines significantly cheaper online.
Last weekend saw a number of well-known names pass away, including former FBI Director and Special Counsel Robert Mueller, along with ex-Buffy the Vampire Slayer star Nicholas Brendan and Canadian supernatural actress Carrie-Anne Fleming. Friday brought news of the passing of a legendary tough guy Chuck Norris at 86 years of age. Norris was a martial artist and actor who starred in more than 40 movies and the long-running TV show Walker, Texas Ranger. He was an Air Force veteran and held black belts in 5 different martial arts before creating his own and founding a training school. He was a lifelong Christian and conservative Republican and was made an honorary US Marine in 2007. He spoke to Conan O'Brien in 1995 about how Bruce Lee talked to him about becoming an action star. Rest in peace, Chuck.
Bruce was really ahead of his time. So he called me up and said, I want to do a movie with a fight scene that everyone will remember called Return of the Dragon. He said, would you come over and do the fight scene with me? I said, well, do I have to lose? He says, yeah, you have to lose. So I did.
This week also had sad news for reality TV fans on Tuesday as the death was announced of Married at First Sight dating coach Mel Schilling. She appeared on both the Australian and UK versions of the shows and was loved by audiences for her frank and honest approach to relationships. She first appeared on the Australian show in 2015 and did 12 series along with 6 series of the UK version. She announced in December 2023 that she'd been diagnosed with colon cancer, which spread throughout her system. She was just 54 when she died, leaving behind devoted husband Gareth and daughter Maddie. Tributes flooded in for a truly magical woman from ITV stars, including Alison Hammond and many of the contestants whose lives she helped to change. Her former MAFS co-host John Aiken paid tribute. Rest in peace, Mel.
The incredible outpouring of love and support from every corner of the globe is a testament to the woman that we all know and admire.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
When people want the truth about a product, they don't just search, they go to Reddit. Whether they're debating the best espresso machine or the right B2B software, Redditors are there to make a decision. With Reddit ads, you can reach these high-intent buyers right where their research is happening. Join the conversation and grow your business at business.reddit.com/podcasts. Valid for new Reddit ad accounts only. Only valid once per business. Additional terms apply. See business.reddit.com for more information.
Cuando cumples 45, te toca soplar muchas velas y examinarte contra el cáncer de colon, ya que al detectarse temprano es más tratable en 9 de cada 10 personas. Usa la prueba de Cologuard en la privacidad de tu casa y envíala de regreso para obtener tus resultados. La prueba de Cologuard es una opción con receta para detectar el cáncer de colon en personas de 45 años o más con riesgo promedio. Resultados positivos deben ir seguidos de una colonoscopía. Pueden darse resultados falsos positivos y falsos negativos. La prueba de Cologuard no reemplaza la colonoscopía en pacientes de alto riesgo. No uses Cologuard si has tenido adenomas, si tienes enfermedad inflamatoria intestinal y ciertos síndromes hereditarios o un historial personal o familiar de cáncer de colon. Pide la prueba de Cologuard a tu médico. Para más información en español, visita cologuard.com/prueba.